Hey everybody, Dave here, Hidden Fruit Investing. In today's video, we're gonna do my FIRE update, net worth update for the month of March. The FIRE date is coming up quick. April 2022 is the date I have slated right now. And we're about a year away. This sounds like a lot of time, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done before I FIRE. And that's part of what I'm going to share on this channel as well. Not to mention another channel, but we'll talk about that here in a second. I'm pretty freaked out. I'm excited. I'm all of the above. There's a lot of emotions involved here, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And if this is just a normal FIRE where I was gonna stay in my house and just quit work and do what I'm normally doing, that'd be fine, but I'm not. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started in the video before we waste any time. All right, before we get to the nuts and bolts of the video, I just want to let you know I created this channel here called Hidden Off Grid. There's already 2 videos out there I did 3 years ago. My very first videos I've ever done in my entire life, so don't judge me there. I'm also very young because it was 3 years ago. But I did create this channel because I want to share my journey after FIRE, and not everybody's going to want to watch that. So I don't want to put all those videos on my investing channel because the investing channel is strictly for investing, right? So I created this channel here, and this will be tracking my FIRE journey after FIRE, okay? Because I'm going to plan on doing a lot of traveling, hiking, adventures, nomad, RVing, good keto food, good life, right? So there's a lot of stuff I want to do after FIRE, and literally right after I FIRE, just a month after I FIRE, really, I'm going to go hike the AT. I'm going to hike the AT southbound, and that was part of the reason why I even, even try to do FIRE in the first place, was because I wanted to hike the AT. And when I looked at doing it, it takes 4 or 5 months, and I figured, okay, well, I need to quit work to do that, so why not just retire? And that's the whole reason why I even chased FIRE to begin with. So if you want to watch all that stuff, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. I'll put a link down in the description. I'll put a link down in the first pinned comment if you want to subscribe and follow my journey after FIRE. Like I said, I'll keep the investment channel for FIRE related stuff. How is my investment doing? How my dividend portfolio is doing? How's my net worth doing? How is my withdrawal rate doing? And all that stuff will still be shared on that channel. But all the FIRE planning stuff, for the next year and all that, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done, will be shared all on the Hidden Off Grid channel. So I'd appreciate it if you subscribed and you tuned in there as well. Okay, look at this. FIRE days left, 373 days. I remember when I added that, it was about 480 days, I think it was. When I first added that, I'm like, oh yeah, man, it's gonna take forever. Look, we're already down 100 days since I added that. I cannot believe it. Here is the assets right now. So 401k accounts right now, and they're in Fidelity, roughly about $300,000 in those accounts. And percent of assets about 17.8, income by account about $9,500, yield by account about 3.17. That's a real conservative amount there. Obviously a lot of it's in the S&P 500, so it should return more than 3%, but I just wanted to be real conservative there. That brings us down here to the tax deferred retirement account for the dividends, and you see me do dividend portfolio update videos. If you want to look at that, you can look it up here. And I pretty much do those every month. There's about $57,000 in there right now. And that generates about $2,350 in dividend income. Actually yield on that account right now is about 4% roughly. And I probably get more NUSI in there too, which the NUSI should raise the actual yield up a little bit. So if you want to see my NUSI video that I did, go ahead and take a look at that video up here. It's actually raising up the actual yield pretty good on the accounts, and also gets me exposure to the S&P, not the S&P, the Qs, the triple Qs. So that's part of the reason why I got into NUSI. That brings us down here to the solo 401k trust notes. So those are real estate notes there. I still have $126,000 in that account. Excuse me, just in those 2 notes. There's 2 notes on that side. And that brings in about $9,800 a year, about 7.74% return. If one of those gets paid back early, then, or both get paid back early, that'll just go in the dividend account. Maybe I'll keep a note, maybe I'll get reinvested in a note, and really not really sure at this time. But so here it brings us down here to the HSA. Right now there's about $10,500 in that account. I wish I had one of those accounts 20 years ago, obviously maybe 30 years ago when I first started my career, but I didn't. I switched companies, and finally I got to a company that actually had an HSA, so it's just really not that much in there. I've tapped that out every single year, the max out, $3,500, but it is what it is. If you have an account or access to one of those through your employer, make sure you get invested in an HSA as soon as possible, because it's triple tax advantage. Right, you're not taxed. It's tax deferred when it goes in. The actual return is tax deferred or tax not taxable, and actually when you spend it on qualified medical expenses down the road, that is tax advantage as well. There's you have to pay no taxes on it, so you're really not going to pay any taxes on that account at all. So it makes perfect sense to max that out every single year if you can. TD Ameritrade account right now, that's just spec plays. Right now it's just in a Snow Leap. And right now, 6.25% return is what I'm trying to get out of that account. I'm already up $2,000 in that account this year, and so I blew that away at $500 income. But I was just in some other leaps like Pepsi and IPOE. I think I was in some leaps on that as well. But right now I'm in a Snow Leap, which is down, so because snow has been down, but it is what it is. In the Interactive Brokers options account, about $203,000 in that account right now, and I'm trying to generate at roughly about 2% a month. That should be about 24% a year, and that'll be about $48,000 of income per year. Right now I'm up $15,000 in the first 3 months of this year, so I'm already on track to beat that 2% a month. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going there. That brings us down to the real estate notes here. And we got roughly about $402,000 still left in real estate notes. I think there's 5 notes left on the taxable side. And that generates about $28,000 of income. If you haven't seen my real estate note video, go ahead and take a look at that video up here. And the yield by account, let's see, that generates almost about 7% return on those notes. And I just got word today that a note is going to get paid back early. It should be getting paid back in April, so it'll be about $75,000, I believe. And I'll get a prepayment penalty paid as well, so that's kind of good because they're going to pay it back about 8 to 9 months early. And I'm not really sure where I'm going to put that money yet. It's probably going to go in the dividend portfolio. Or maybe I'll split out a little bit, put some in the options account and some in the dividend portfolio. Maybe I'll make 50-50 or maybe 70-30 or something like that. But I haven't figured that out. But I'm so excited to get that money back and early and put it to work in some other accounts. That brings us to real estate flips here. Luckily, I just got word today that both of those things are finally going to be going to a court hearing. They've been in the foreclosure process for almost a year now. And finally, they're going to in front of a judge. Hopefully, after that, they both go for sale at auction, and they actually get sold at auction. If they don't both get sold at auction, I'm hoping at least one does. I'm honestly willing to take a loss on that one house so it can go at the auction, and then I can make up the money in the other house because it's a lot better property and there's a lot less work that needs to be done on that one. But it is what it is. I'm just happy that I got at least word in June that it's going to be going in front of a judge, and hopefully maybe a month after that it will go to auction. So at least I don't have to worry so much about when that's going to happen. At least I know now. Now I just have to worry about that they actually get sold at auction, and at least one of them does, hopefully. Otherwise, that could throw a hamper in my retirement plans. Well, we'll see. That brings us down to the Schwab dividends account here. You've seen me do many of dividend update videos, and I'll, if you want to look at that video, you can look it up here. And there's $373,000 in there. It generates about 4.2% return right now, about $15,800 at this time. And I've done quite a few videos on my dividend portfolio, and I'll probably just get more stuff going into NUSI, which should raise the yield up a little bit. I haven't quite figured out how I want to break out NUSI and VYM or anything like that, but it is what it is. It generates pretty good income. That's Coma money. So we'll talk about that down here in a little bit second, where we want to actually grow those accounts. But it brings us to Schwab cash. There's not much cash in either one of those, dividend portfolio up here or this one here. Right now there's just $22 sitting in those two accounts. And that brings us to Fundrise. So Fundrise is $16,000 roughly in that account, generates about $13,000 of income, about 8% yield per year. You see me do plenty of Fundrise videos. If you want to take a look at all those videos, look at the Fundrise playlist. Lending Club, let's see, Lending Club, about $1,280 in that account, generates about $180 per year, 14% return. Actually pretty low, actually. I think it's 18%, but that account's being closed down. They completely shut that platform down, but if you're already grandfathered in, you already had a bunch of notes, until those notes get paid back, you're still have an account and all that. But all that money will just go in the Fundrise account once I yank it out. And then we got cash here, high yield savings account, HYSA account, right? About $11,000 in that account. I'd actually drained that down compared to what it was last month. And part of that money I just stuck in the options account up here because I can generate a lot more income from that. Then it just sit in this high yield savings account where it generates 0.44%, which is $50. So, and most of this money is just gonna go to paying taxes anyway. Actually owe another $23,000 on top of what I've already paid with my W-2 job and all that. So another $23,000 is going to get paid. So I'm kind of worried about that, but we'll talk about that here in a second as well. That brings us total to $1.684 million in net worth, and income by account is roughly about $115,000 on a conservative basis. That brings us down to the liabilities, and I don't have any liabilities, but this spreadsheet's been shared out, so if you want to use the spreadsheet, we'll talk about that here a little bit later. If you want this net worth tracking spreadsheet, it's available down in the pinned comment. Go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. Okay, so that brings us down to account type here, taxable minus debt. So there's no debt, so we're not going to worry about that. And right now there's 1.189 million in the taxable fund. So right now a lot of my net worth is tied up in the taxable side, and that's something you need to do if you're going to retire early, because you need to generate income off of that, or you need to be able to pull off those portfolios until you get old enough to pull off of your tax deferred accounts. So if you're going to retire early, make sure you think about that. Income roughly about $93,000, 800. And yield about 7.89, and then the tax deferred side is roughly about $494,000 in that account, and the income right now is roughly about $22,000 with a yield about 4.45. That brings us to the SR here, which is the savings rate, and right now this is about how much my net worth should go up every single year. So the taxable side should go up about $152,000, almost $153,000, and the tax deferred side should go up about $45,756 for a total increase of about $198,737 per year. My net worth should continue to go up on a conservative basis. You divide that by 12, that comes out to $16,561 per month that my net worth should go up on a conservative basis. That brings us down here to the net worth, about 1.684. The goal is $1.9 million. So I'm 88.64% to the goal, with a remaining of $215,756 left. Now, if you didn't watch my video last month, the goal was 1.85, so I did raise it up $50,000. And yes, it's the third or fourth time I've moved the goalpost, but it is what it is. The only reason I moved it is because my projections here show I'm going to be at 1.9 million anyway. So, I'm about 13 months away from retirement, early retirement. Be roughly about 47 years old next year. And that'll put us about $1.9 million on a conservative basis. Okay, so obviously this ticks down every single month. Like next month in April, I'll put that down to 1, and I'll put this one down to 12, and then it'll tick down, and then for that 16,000 will be added to it, and that's how it continues to go up, and how I just kind of do the projections, I should say. So let's go ahead and undo that there. And this lean fire is already done. I've already passed that this year, so we're going to just do 2022. So why not just push it to 1.9, right? We're already almost there anyway, and it might actually make me try a little bit harder in my options account and all that to get to 1.9. Heck, if I can get to 2 million by then, that's even better, right? I don't know if that's going to happen, but maybe the market will give it to me. That'll bring us to the net worth-o-meter here, and I changed that to 1.9 million, and right now we're at 1.684, so we're in the green, but a little bit more green to go. That brings us down here to the long-term post-fire. This is kind of what I want the accounts to look like after fire. So the dividend portfolio post-fire, eventually I want to get to about $400,000. and that'll be about a $19,500 of income, roughly about a yield about 4.88. Obviously that's subject to change because I might put more cash into Newsy. I don't really know yet. And then the real estate notes, those will be paid back slowly, principal and interest as well. But right now that will be looking like it'll be about $122,000 when I actually fire. And that has about a $9,200 income per year, about the yield of about 7.51%. And then hopefully the HSA will be about $15,000 by then. I think I'm going to continue to contribute to that even after I fire, because you can contribute, I think, interest income, maybe even dividend income as well. So as long as you have a high deductible health plan, you can contribute to an HSA, as long as the health plan sponsors an HSA or qualifies for one, I should say. So I do plan on contributing to that if I can. And that brings us down here to the Interactive Brokers Options account. There's $205,000. I don't really have any plans to increase that, but I do. We'll talk about that here in a second. But right now, there's $205,000 in there, and that generates roughly right now I'm generating about 2% a month on that. But in this particular section of here, I have it set to roughly about 1% a month, which generates about $24,000 a year. And the reason I just did that is because I feel like that account is just optional. My options account is optional. I don't need that income. I don't, I just, want to use that to spend for trips, or I want to, I need to pay for a new welder or something like that, or I need to, build my RV or something like that. Then that's what that account's going to be for. But let's talk about that here in a second as well. So let me see, Schwab dividends account. Roughly, I want to build that account to $681,000 in the taxable side. So you add that right up here. That'll be build the dividend account over $1 million. You add those two accounts together. That'll generate about $33,000, and that's subject to change. It should go up because I'll probably put more cash into Newsy most likely, but right now that account yield is 4.86. So if we put more cash into Newsy, that should go up as well. Fundrise account, roughly about $16,500 in there after I get done firing. That generates about $1,250, roughly about a 7.5% return. And then that brings us down here to the cash high yield savings account. Right now, after fire, there'll be about $10,000, maybe a little bit more in there. I do plan on building that account out a little bit just because I need some cash in there to flip those particular flips above. If they don't go at auction, then I'm gonna need some cash to flip them. And the update last month, I actually have about $30-something thousand in there. I took that cash out and actually put it in the options account because I can generate a lot more money off that than what this 0.44% is, because that's actually what the yield is in that account, is 0.44%. So why not just stick that cash into the Interactive Brokers account where I can get paid a lot more return off that money. But it is what it is. After fire, I want to build that account up probably to $30,000 to $60,000 eventually at some point down the road. 5 years, 10 years down the road, continue to build that out, because I think this portfolio is going to generate too much money, more money than I actually need in fire. So that's kind of good. As long as I can cover my basic necessities, my basic bills, rent or whatever, with my dividend portfolio, that's ideal, and we'll keep the options account for optional income that I don't necessarily need. So I call that coma money, right? So my dividend portfolio will create the coma money. So if I'm in a coma, it's going to pay for all the bills that I need, and I don't have to worry about it, right? In this primary house, I forgot to talk about the primary house. So the primary house is $450,000. What I want to set aside for a primary house, I don't plan on buying a house anytime soon, but I want to have the cash to pay cash for it. And I just put it here as kind of a holding period, or holding, a marker, or whatever you want to call it. Most likely that cash will go into the options account while I'm firing, overseas or something, doing something over there, traveling, backpacking or whatever. That'll just go in the options account where I can generate, a pretty good sum of money off of that. But I do want to have that primary house cash set aside, and most likely I probably will finance the house. But probably put $200,000 or something down on it, and then stick the rest in the high yield savings account or something like that. But that's about how much I want to pay for the house and the shop and some land or whatever. But so that's what that's for. The interest rates are so low right now. I don't know what they're going to be like when I want to buy a house, but if it's only 3% or 4%, I can still generate 12% a year with ease with that money. So it makes sense to actually put in the options account. In addition to that, I should say this, cash up here, which is generated to what, $29,000 for the tax deferred side. That's 29 right there. I want to not even touch that in retirement at all. So literally the rest of my life, I don't want to touch the retirement accounts. So that's the plan, at least. We'll talk about that here just in a second as well. But right now, taxable side, what, $58,000? I can live off of that pretty good. So yes, your taxable account you normally can't touch till you're 59 and a half. So my plan is number one, I don't really want to touch it anyway, but I really want to get it out there before the RMDs start. What, 59 and a half? I don't know exactly when the RMDs start. They might start at 59 and a half. I don't really know. Maybe in their 60s, but I need to start looking at that. And, when I start learning about that, I'll start sharing it with you too. But at this time, my plan is just do a Roth ladder anyway. And I created a Roth ladder, spreadsheet and all that stuff right here to track that information. So once I fire, I'll be in a lower income bracket. So it makes sense to do the Roth conversion or start that once I fire and I'm not in a high income bracket anymore. Then the conversions, the tax rate will be 10 or 15% or something like that. And maybe I can drain that account out by the time I get to 59 and a half, which I don't think I can. If you're only pulling out $6,000, $7,000 a year, you're not going to come close to drain that account out. Especially if that account is generating $30,000 of income every year. So in order for me to get it down to zero, I'd have to probably withdraw like $40,000 or $50,000 per year or something like that. So I guess I'm going to be pretty much screwed with RMDs. If you want this net worth tracking spreadsheet, it's available down in the pinned comment. Go ahead and like and subscribe and hit that bell notification. So you're probably thinking, Dave, can you live on that amount of money? It's like $2 million, $1.9 million. Can you live on the amount of money that generates? And I can. Now, granted, a lot of comments I had in my last video, people said, why don't you just fire right now? You got plenty of money. And I'm not disagreeing with that, but there's still a pandemic going on. And what I want to do, a lot of, they say to push it off to 2022, and that's what I'm going to do. So I kind of wanted to get that figured out. Plus I wanted to give my time to figure all this other stuff out that I need to do as well. I need to pack this whole house up, put it in storage, and get rid of a lot of stuff. I need to figure out the mail situation and all that because I'm not going to keep a house when I go fire. It's literally, I'm going to be going on the AT for about 4 or 5 months or so, and I'm not going to have a house at all. And as part of my way of paying for the AT trip is just not having a house. And that can actually just pay for the trip with not having a house or not having an apartment or not having a monthly rent. And that'll just pay for the trip. And not to mention, I could probably, obviously save money while I'm actually hiking, which is kind of interesting too, because I'll be generating more money than I need to use on that trip or that hike. And then I actually had somebody else comment on my last video too, and they said, you can't live on that, and that's just not enough money to live on. You're gonna need a lot more than that. I just, I had, nightmares of Susie Orman saying, you need $30 million to retire. It's like, all those people say you need $1 zillion to retire, and they're delusional. They're freaking delusional in my opinion, because they're, movie stars, they're celebrities, they're talk radio show hosts. I don't know what they are. I just remember Susie Orman saying it, but most people are not going to have probably $2 million of retirement anyway, let alone, maybe people that are actually, it's striving for fire, maybe they will, but most people in this country is not going to have $2 million of retirement. They probably won't even have one. They might not even make $1 million in their whole life, let alone after taxes have $1 million, all right? So to me, this is plenty enough money. I've followed quite a few people that fired, and over the years, people that fired back in the 80s and stuff, and they were fired at $800,000 or whatever, and they have way more money now than they retired 30, 40 years ago. Okay, so I just think that people just freak out about that because there's a lot of unknowns there, healthcare and all that stuff, right? That's the number one question you always get. And just for comparison here, I think Mr. Money Mustache had about $800,000 to $850,000 when he retired, and that was about 15 years ago when he retired at age 30. Okay, and that's going to be about 17 years before I retire, and I have double the amount, more than double the amount of money that he had when he retired. Okay, so just think about it this way. The older you get, the less amount of money you need, because there's a lot of things that you don't have to worry about, right? If you're 30 and you retire, there's a lot of stuff you got to worry about between 30 and 50, right? I'm going to be almost 50 when I retire. Next year I'll be about 47, so I'll be close, right? So there's a lot of, about what, another 10 to 17 years there that I don't have to figure out. I don't got to worry about all that other stuff that could happen in that amount of time, right? So the older you get, the less amount of money you actually need, and less withdrawal rate you really need as well, in my opinion. You could probably do the 4%, 45 years old and older. You can probably get away with the 4%. I'm just trying to be conservative here. So I just, it is what it is. And you're probably asking, what am I going to do for healthcare? And because I'm going to be hiking right after I fire, pretty much right away, maybe about a month in between, because I want to make sure I get that cash out of the retirement accounts and put them into the dividend portfolio. And I think partly I'm probably just going to sign up for Cobra right off the bat and just do that for the first 6 months. And then I'll probably sign up for the exchange, or I'll actually go overseas and just get a plan for being overseas and being a nomad. Maybe not get something on the exchange, because I don't think anything on exchange, is for really a nomad, but it is what it is. Probably just, be traveling outside the country for quite a while, sharing a lot of those experiences on my Hidden Off Grid channel. And then all of the finances for living, outside of the country, and in addition to how my portfolio is doing and dividends are doing, and all that stuff will still be shared on the Hidden Freedom Investing channel. If you have any, concerns, or you have any ideas, anything I left out on my FIRE journey, and I would appreciate it if you did, because I don't know everything, obviously, about FIRE. I've never gone through it. I'm getting a little scared, getting anxiety and all that. There's a lot of stuff I need to do, but I'll share that with you as the months progress and all that. Obviously, if I was not going to FIRE and move out right after and go hike the AT right after I FIRE, then there'll be a lot less anxiety. But I'm getting older, and the eyesight's going, and joints and all that stuff or whatever are starting to get achy and all that, so I don't want to push it off any longer. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we get the FIRE to happen next year and get me on the trail. So anyways, let's go ahead and end this video. Go ahead and like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.